Hello and welcome back to Model Railways Unlimited, and we're on the workbench again, although this time no locos will be seen. We're actually looking at some scenic items. I've recently discovered this company, modelrailwayscenery.com, and these laser printed scenic items. I bought some fruit and veg crates, which are like the little self-stacking ones that are open topped, and also these medium slatted shipping crates, Alex 062 for 00, pack of 4, after watching a very interesting British transport film from 1952 called Train Time. And in this they feature packing up vegetables from down in Cornwall and shipping them away to market in London in the earliest possible amount of time. They call them broccoli, but they're quite clearly cauliflowers. However, I understand from some research that down in Cornwall, cauliflowers are called broccoli. Not sure if that is true, but that's the information I've been given. So this is the first time I've bought from modelrailwayscenery.com, and along with the crates I also got this laser cut glue kit, which looks to be very useful. And we'll go ahead now and open one of these up and see what comes inside. So I have one open. It's the large packing crates. As you can see, you get this thin wood sheet which has been cut by laser quite clearly, as there's some burns on the back, and if you smell it, it does smell a little bit like it's been jolly hot. And these are all the components that you need to make the crates. The instructions are ever so simple, and everything is clearly listed out to show you what bit they're referring to. So as you can see, cut out part A. Part A is that. So as we look at this sheet of wood, part A is there, which is already getting a little bit loose by the look of it. Yeah, it's flapping down already. That's part A. Looks like it'll be the main body of the backing crate. So what I will do is I shall follow the instructions and film each section and let you see how it all goes together. So what I'm doing there is doing what they say and scoring very lightly the perforated joints, but I need both hands and the camera is using one, but you get the idea. And when you're doing the scoring, it really is just the weight of the knife. When it says lightly, it means very lightly. Let's look at the next section. Turn part A over, then fold up the two sides as shown, and glue together. Repeat for the remaining sides. Seems quite easy, doesn't it? Let's have a go. So when it says glue together and fold it up, if you notice in the short edge there's a slot, and also on the long side there's a little peg, and they engage. Now this bit is a bit loose, but we will just glue it in position if it does drop off, which I'm sure it's going to. But let's see how well they fit together. Perfectly. So I'm going to get the glue going now and seal this bit up. If you decide to use the same brand of glue, note that you have to take the cap off initially, and there is a sealing plug here that has to be removed before you screw that back on with the applicator. Don't spend time wondering why the glue won't come out like I did. So we finally have the sides together. I did find they fell apart. Note that when it says fold, it only folds one way, and that gives you better stability. It's definitely a case of needing the old tweezers and get down to the level of the of the crate that you're working on. Otherwise it very much feels like the old elephant trying to wipe its bum with a piece of confetti wearing boxing gloves. It certainly does for me anyway. Very fiddly. I'm just going to put the final side on, and I find that it does help to do it like that, and then you can see that the lugs are engaged properly. I've now cut out 2 part Bs, and each of them goes on the end of the crate, making that. So it actually holds a multitude of sins when you put those strengtheners on. I just need to push that bit in there, but it's now amazing how much more solid this little thing's feeling. And you can see it does look like a really big packing crate now. Anyway, we'll progress on. There's just 3 more stages to go. The part D has 2 parts cut out, and you have to carefully line them up and glue them together before fitting them on the base of the crate. So it's just to add a bit of thickness. So I just, the glue's quite forgiving really, it gives a few minutes if you don't press it together hard, and you can slide them into exactly the right position until it sets. Then we're going to add this to the bottom of the crate. Parts F come as a set, and they are 3 bracing rods for the top of the lid. The wider strips go on the outside edges, and the thin one goes down the middle. So I'm just going to glue them on now. So we now have a completable crate, and the little lid would be glued in place like this. But first of all, I'm going to fill it with something to make it look like it's full of broccoli or cauliflower, depending on where you come from. And for that I've got some of this flock. I'm going to see how that goes. And so there we have the sealed in crate. I teased a few of the strands of the flock or moss out through the gaps in the crate to give it a more realistic, fully loaded look. And yes, there it is. We have a crate of vegetables for our wagons. Not bad for my first attempt at it. I need to be a little bit more delicate with the glue, because although it says it dries clear and everything, I think it shows up. But of course, once this is on a wagon, you're not going to notice that anyway. Well, I'm very happy with that, and it's a solid little thing now. There we go. Vegetable crates for your model railways, courtesy of scalemodelScenery.co.uk. They're a little fiddly, but very satisfying all the same. So what I will do now is put a few more of these together, put them in a wagon, and we'll see what it looks like. Just a point about the scoring. The side you score lightly, they say 3 times. You turn it over once you've scored it, and fold that side up. Oh dear. I found the syringe type tip pretty much useless. It blocks up even if you leave it open just for a few minutes. Fortunately, I had some of these left over from when I was assembling a card kit, and that is a direct fit on top there. You can clean these out with hot water, and if they get really blocked near the tip, you just cut them off and you've got miles to go. So that's a much better thing than these, which just block up. And so there we have 3 in a 5-plank wagon, which works rather well. Probably is room for something smaller there as well. I suppose you could even stack them. I don't know what they would look like, one on top of the other. No, it would be unsafe, wouldn't it? In a 5-plank anyway. So that is rather perfect. I like that. I like the way they look. And I've got another one to build out of this card yet. So yeah, very pleased. Vegetable packing crates. Obviously you could use these packing crates for all sorts of things, but absolutely loaded with veg looks rather good. And I've just pulled the flock through a little bit in places, added slightly different colours, and there we are. Quite pleased with that. Going back to the glue, the great thing is, I don't know if you can see when the glue starts to come out of the polythene piece, see it moving down the tube? If you stand it up and give it a tap, it all runs back down. Much neater than the supplied syringe end. Anyway, so I'm going to sit here and make some more packing crates up. I quite enjoy getting on with it now. It's going at a pace, and I hope that you have found that useful and interesting. I may come on to these individual fruit and veg crates a bit later on and put them on the end of this video to complete it. So here we go. I've decided to do the fruit and veg crates. I know I'm starting to look at the instructions and the laser board sheet. Now what it says is that it's best to construct it with the first part of the crate still in the sheet, then add the other layers to it, including the base. So each one of these squares, that's the first layer, second layer, third layer, base. And then you cut out these little tiny corner pieces and add to the crates. Oh my word, I'm going to need more than my normal glasses. So we have a nice powerful magnifier set. Let's have a look, let's see what we can do. Okay, fairly impossible to film and do this, but you can see that each one is kept on the left and right by a little wooden sprue. So if that's number 1, I guess this is number 2, number 3, and then the base. So I'm going to start by cutting out that and then gluing it onto that. I hope it will let me release it then. Not gone particularly well. The first one I cut, it was held on by more than the little sprue and collapsed when I drew the scalpel through it. Damn it. Let's try the next one. So I'm not impressed at the moment. It just seems that you cannot cut them neatly. They cling on and then just collapse. So I've put a brand new scalpel blade in. I suppose we can test it on this one. It's just the same crate. Let's see what happens. Right, the new blade did make a difference and I managed to get this out, but it is incredibly fine and very, very delicate. So don't really attempt this unless you can ensure you've got an incredibly sharp blade. Oh well, just learnt on the first one, so let's see if I can assemble the second one. So I have achieved layers 1, 2 and 3 with this one, and it certainly is a very fiddly thing to do. You see it's still a bit loose. The glue, it's hard to glue it into place, and I'm going to fit the base next. So small. And that is the first one I built. Now I was delighted with the packing crates that we filled with vegetables. I have to say I'm less delighted with these. I think they're probably just too fine, and what I found was that trying to remove them from the main board, the lugs weren't really, the lugs could do with being more delicate so you can cut them out easier, because they tend to hang in there, and then because you squash down with a knife to cut them, it breaks the actual crate boards. But nonetheless, we have something that does look a bit like a vegetable crate, don't we? I think that perhaps these uprights should be at an angle. I'm going to try and assemble the next one and see how I get on now I know what I'm doing. Well, it went a little bit better, but still difficult. Sharp scalpels. What can you do with sharp scalpels? Well, you can make a hole in yourself. Be careful about that. I better go and deal with that now. But yes, we suffer for our art, don't we? Hey, well, I bought quite a few more of these little vegetable crates, and I have to say that whilst you can build them, it's not a pleasure. It's not as nice as building those bigger crates. Perhaps they're just too small. Maybe it's me being old and a bit clumsy, but you know, the idea of keeping them in the laser board and building them up in there, yeah, its principle's okay, but the glue gets everywhere and it sticks it further to it, and then you can't separate it, and because they're so delicate they just break. So yeah, the principle's okay, and I'm sure someone with more dexterity and more patience would probably get on rather well, but these ones are not for me and won't be recommended by me as nice as the potential finished product could be. Anyway, that's the end of this little short look at these new scenic items. I hope it's been of interest to some.